20:27-40. Resurrection and marriage. And there came to him certain of the Sadducees, they that say that there is no resurrection. And they asked him, saying, Teacher, Moses wrote unto us, that if a man's brother die having a wife, and he be childless, his brother should take the wife and raise up seed unto his brother. There were therefore 7 brethren, and the first took a wife and died childless, and the second and the third took her, and likewise the 7 also left no children and died. Afterward the woman also died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of them shall she be? For the 7 had her to wife. And Jesus said unto them, The sons of this world marry, and are given in marriage, but they that are accounted worthy to attain to that world, and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. For neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But that the dead are raised, even Moses showed in the place concerning the bush, when he calleth the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Now he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. And certain of the scribes answering said, Teacher, thou hast well said, for they durst not any more ask him any question. We see in these verses what an old thing unbelief is. We are told that there came to our Lord certain of the Sadducees who deny that there is any resurrection. Even in the Jewish church, the church of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, the church of Moses and Samuel and David, and the prophets, we find that there were bold, avowed, unblushing skeptics. If infidelity like this existed among God's peculiar, if these things existed in a green tree, what must have been the condition of the dry? We must never be surprised when we hear of infidels, deists, heretics, and freethinkers rising up in the church and drawing away disciples after them. We must not count it a rare and a strange thing. It is only one among many proofs that man is a fallen and corrupt being. Since the day when the devil said to Eve, You shall not surely die, and Eve believed him, there never has been wanting a constant succession of forms of unbelief. There is nothing new about any of the modern theories of infidelity. There is not one of those who is not an old disease under a new name. They are all mushrooms which spring up spontaneously in the hotbed of human nature. It is not in reality an astonishing thing that there should rise up so many who call in question the truth of the Bible. The marvel is rather that in a fallen world the sect of the Sadducees should be so small. Let us take comfort in the thought that in the long run of years the truth will always prevail. Its advocates may often be feeble, and their arguments very weak, but there is an inherent strength in the cause itself which keeps it alive. Bold infidels like Porphyry and Julian and Hobbes and Hume and Voltaire and Paine arise from time to time and make a stir in the world. But they produce no lasting impression. They pass away like the Sadducees and go to their own place. The great evidences of Christianity remain like the pyramids, unshaken and unmoved. The gates of hell shall never prevail against Christ's truths. Matthew 16:18. We see secondly in these verses what a favorite weapon of skeptics is a supposed case. We are told that the Sadducees brought to our Lord a difficulty arising out of the case of a woman who had married 7 brothers in succession. They professed a desire to know whose wife of the 7 the woman would be in the resurrection. The intention of the inquiry is clear and plain. They wished to pour contempt on the whole doctrine of a life to come. The case is one which we can never suppose had really arisen. It seems the highest probability that it was a story invented for the occasion in order to raise a difficulty and found an argument. Reasoning of this kind will often meet us if we are thrown into company with people of a skeptical turn of mind. Some imaginary difficulty or complication, and that connected probably with some fancied state of things in the world to come, will often prove the stronghold of an unbeliever. He cannot understand it. He cannot reconcile it. It seems to him revolting and absurd. It offends his common sense. Such is the language which is often used. Reasoning of this kind should never shake us for a moment. For one thing, we have nothing to do with supposed and imaginary cases. It will be time enough to discuss them when they really arise. Enough for us to talk and argue about facts as they are. For another thing, it is a mere waste of time to speculate about difficulties connected with a state of existence in a world to come. We know so little of anything beyond the visible world around us that we are very poor judges of what is possible or not possible in the unseen world. 1,000 things beyond the grave must necessarily be unintelligible to us at present. In the meantime, it is our wisdom to wait patiently. What we don't know now, we shall know hereafter. We see thirdly in these verses something of the true character of the saints' existence in the world to come. We read that our Lord said to the Pharisees, "But that is not the way it will be in the age to come. For those worthy of being raised from the dead won't be married then, and they will never die again. In these respects, they are like angels. They are children of God, raised up to new life." 2 things are abundantly clear from this description respecting the saints in glory. For one thing, their happiness is not a carnal happiness, but a spiritual one. They neither marry nor are given in marriage. The glorified body shall be very unlike what it is now. It shall no longer be a clog and a hindrance to the believer's better nature. It shall be a fit habitation for a glorified soul. For another thing, their happiness shall be eternal. They can die no more. No births shall be needed to supply the constant waste caused by death. Weakness and sickness and disease and infirmity shall be no more at all. The curse shall be clean removed. Death himself shall die. The nature of what we call heaven is a subject which should often engage our thoughts. Few subjects in religion are so calculated to show the utter folly of unconverted men and the dreadful danger in which they stand. A heaven where all the joy is spiritual would surely be no heaven to an unconverted soul. Few subjects are so likely to cheer and animate the mind of a true Christian. The holiness and spiritual mindedness which he follows after in this life will be the very atmosphere of his eternal abode. The cares of family relationships shall no longer distract his mind. The fear of death shall no longer bring him into bondage. Then let him press on and bear his cross patiently. Heaven will make amends for all. We see lastly in these verses the antiquity of belief in a resurrection. Our Lord shows that it was the belief of Moses that the dead are raised. Even Moses showed at the burning bush. Faith in a resurrection and a life to come has been the universal belief of all God's people from the beginning of the world. Abel and Enoch and Noah and Abraham and all the patriarchs were men who looked forward to a better inheritance than they had here below. They looked for a city which had foundations. They desired a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Hebrews 11:10-16. Let us anchor our own souls firmly on this great foundation truth, that we shall all rise again. Whatever ancient or modern Sadducees may say, let us believe firmly that we are not made like the beasts that perish, and that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. Acts 24:15. The recollection of this truth will cheer us in the day of trial, and comfort us in the hour of death. We shall feel that though earthly prosperity fail us, there is a life to come where there is no change. We shall feel that though worms destroy our body, yet in the flesh we shall see God. Job 19:26. We shall not lie always in the grave. Our God is not a God of the dead, but of the living.